Hello everyone, teachers, students, and all the friends online. I'm so glad today to have this seminar which organized by our university entitled as The Tradition of Innovation, Modern and Contemporary Chinese Painting in 2020, the 11th of November, the first general seminar. So today we are so glad to invite the professional architecture in China, Mr. HUI CHEUK to attend this seminar. So now let me take the opportunity to introduce our program and let our deans to have a welcome speech to you all. So our university have been organizing and planning to promote administration and cultural programs since 2016. And I was invited to join this program to organize the cultural administration program and to be the main programmer of our university. So, our university actually has planned the program after the 5th of 5-year plan. And our university has been starting this program since 2016. We have the insight to establish art and culture. And this has been a significant path to prove us to be a university that provides cultural program, which is very successful in the future. So that is the reason why our university has decided to open another program, art design program later on. And this program actually has been supported by the Hong Kong government and sponsorship by them, which has been entitled as SSDAE. After we have been given this sponsorship, we can have 40 students each year. And this program has offered service to the students a chance and platform to learn the same thing compared with the other 8 universities in Hong Kong. We have been very actively develop new program, and we are going to organize another new program in architecture-wise in the future. So today, I would like to take this opportunity to show my appreciation to our dean, and very glad to invite the very professional architecture, Mr. Hui, to share his thought and feel about the Chinese painting. And in terms of filling the position of architect, our program has been building up huge significant effort on this. So this seminar actually is a very great chance and opportunity for us and for all of you to have Mr. Hui here to have his sharing with us on Chinese painting. And hope that everyone could actively participate on our program online. Thank you, the programmer. So let me introduce our speaker today. Right now, we have already mentioned that Mr. Hui is a very professional architecture. And he's graduated since 1960s and was granted his master degree in Canada. Mr. Liu had built a great effort in the architecture industry, but what I want to mention today actually is about his collection and his wise sharing and also his experience around 50 years collection. Other than this, I would like to mention about his family background as well. And some of his members from his family actually is a very famous artist, and some of them even work in the jewelry industry. That's why his insight and experience from the jewelry industry is pretty rich. Even though our topics today is related to Chinese painting, he is very experiential in this aspect and have many collections. Even some of his collections has been targeted by the Hong Kong Art Museum, and this has been proved that the value of his collection. That's why we are going to have him with us today. And this actually is very meaningful to the art industry and also meaningful to the student who's studying arts. Why I'm mentioning this? Because in our learning aspects, there are several theories about the traditional traditions and critical traditions. Since there is a great change in the critical paradigm, and this is actually a very significant achievement in the Chinese creativity traditions. And if we don't have enough knowledge focusing in this aspect, which is a waste for us. And in this seminar, you can actually see an innovation about the creativities of Chinese painting. And Chinese painting, we do have to appreciate it by combining the tradition and innovation. And later on, you can have more insight on this field by the sharing of Mr. Hui. So I want to mention that Actually, this PowerPoint is prepared by the daughter of Mr. Hui, and he is actually the master students graduate in the Hong Kong Baptist University. Although the seminar is presented by Mr. Hui, but all the research is prepared by her daughter. And here I would like to present several books that is collected by Mr. Hui. This book is about the Guangdong Linglan. And the other book is about the contemporary Chinese painting research, which has been offering so many rich examples about this field. So for Mr. Hui, except for just collecting the Chinese painting, he is actually a poet as well. Not only just painter, but for today, he will be focused on the Chinese painting. Not sure if he will mention his painting, but for sure he will share about his insight about the seminar. So Mr. Hui, thank you so much for your attending today. For me, I just would like to take this opportunity to thank you for inviting me to attending this seminar. So actually, in my perspective, I do agree with you, and Chinese painting should have innovation, which people have a misunderstanding on it, that thinking Chinese painting is a traditional stuff. But in terms of the art perspective, there is nothing about improvement, population, or unpopular. It's more about a trend. So for me today, I will try my best to show all my insight and sharing and all the thought with you all. But first of all, let me have a greeting with you guys. Hello, everyone. So since you all is students and also the master in the arts industry, I am Mr. Hui Chek. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, the university, to inviting me to attend this seminar. And also would like to thank you, Professor Hui, to offer me this precise chance to attend this seminar to share my collection and also my experience of my research. So I would like to have some exchange with you all. So in this seminar, I'm going to pick several pieces of masterpieces from these scratches of snow and to share all my thoughts with you. So basically today, I'm going to mention the painters and also the professionals into three aspects, which is about birds and flowers, figures and characters, and also the landscape, which is the mountain and river. So in terms of the figure characters, not all of them will show the same style or even from the same school of painting. I will prioritize the three epochs by starting from the figure character first, which is also fit my arrangement when I usually do my research. And the second come from the flower and birds, and also the third will be about the landscape, which is the Madonna River. So actually, when I have do the research with the others, I do have collected several pieces, which later on they have been like contribute to the collections to the Hong Kong Art Museum. And just because of the seminar these chances, it's grateful for me to share all these pieces to all you all. So not all the masterpieces from all the painters I could show to you all these times, and some of them are really uncommon, rare, and unusual. Though I would like to take this opportunity of these times to show you all the collections. But in case if I have missed anything or any misunderstanding, hope that everyone will just give me some support, or we can have it later on. So actually, the painter which I'm going to introduce today, the time range is around Qing Dynasty to contemporary modern. Their growth around the period of art and culture exploration in the period. Not all of the painters are lucky that to have long lifespan to show his professions. As you all know, camera was infant in the European, but when it comes to the 19th century, the European and Nepals has been infant the first camera, which is after the time the Renaissance period and the industrial time period. Just because he knows how to draw, and he thought that there is no reference for him when painting the portrait. And suddenly come to a mind that he take the reference from the shadow of someone. And he copied the shadow for his paint and found that this is more accurate than what he has been looking for the painting. And as a result, this is how camera comes to us. Later on, when it comes to the Qing Dynasty, camera have been introduced to Qixi, The reason why I mentioned Qixi here is because the innovation of camera has made a huge revolution in China. Usually, in the Chinese perspective, camera for them is a concept between yin and yang. You can see that it is very it's very stereo large size with 3 dimensions, and which is a very huge difference from the Chinese traditional painting. So what is the difference between draw a picture and paint a picture? That's why the Chinese mention Chinese painting as drawing a picture instead of painting one, which is different from the concept of the Westerns. As what I mentioned, there are 5 major painting schools in China, which are Tianjin, Haishang, Nanjing, Xi'an, and Linnan. The reason why for Linnan to be one of the major painting school is because it is one of the districts in Guangzhou. And back to the time when Qin Nong governs the province, he has gathered all the Westerners to Linnan, and it has created a time the Western culture growing up in the specific area. So let us come back to the Chinese painting. Actually, the two professors just mentioned some Chinese painting in an abstract perspective, but to fit the youngsters, let us come back to the Chinese painting. Here is a brief introduction for the traditional painters, or later on we can have further discussion later. Not sure everyone knows about that. During the Qing dynasty, a very long time ago, this painter has been a very famous one during the time period, and he is Ren Xiong. The first time when I know him actually is on Xin Bao. He is the one who is professional in Chinese poem and also Chinese painting. In the traditional Chinese painting, there actually is a Bible for them, introducing the one Jiezi Yuan. He is a very famous one. And during that time, the kids love to have drawings with Jie Ziyuan. Everyone who has painted with Jie Ziyuan usually will be famous later on. But for Ren Xiong, that is mentioning in the copy in symbol saying that he is very famous for offering a long painting in black and white style, which is very difficult to have one in the general workshop. At that time, there is another painter called Zhou Xian, has been invited Ren Xiong to his place for appreciating the other real masterwork. In the past, Ren Xiong only have the experience of learning the style from Jie Ziyuan. It's rarely for him to have a chance to take a look on the real masterpiece. That's why Ren Xiong take the chance to learn all the styles from it and do his practice, absorbing all the features and characters. During the time when he is living with Zhou Xian, and later on Zhou Xian introduced Ren Xiong to Yao Xie, which is another famous one in the Chinese painting industry, for 2 to 3 months. But since then, when Ren Xiong have more chances to appreciate the real Chinese painting work, the experience has boosted all his proficiencies. After 3 months, Ren Xiong has spent all his time to contribute the artwork. Actually, at that period, it is very difficult for a common one to have a chance to appreciate the real masterpiece. That's why for Ren Xiong, it's a good time for him to learn more about the Chinese painting. But going back to the time, the social actually do not have a good practice. By having opium, not even Ren Xiong. And that makes him or his health going worse. But later on, just because of his luck and also his experience, he have gone to Shanghai and met a boy on the street who aged only 13 to 14, who is selling painting. He asked the boy, "What are you selling?" The boy said, "I'm selling the masterpiece of a great master in Chinese painting." The boy has no idea about Ren Xiong just because of copying the masterpiece, and he's very proud of himself. which is surprised Ren Xiong, and that made Ren Xiong appreciate the boy, which makes him invite the boy. To be his apprentice. For the boy, actually, this is a very good chance because at that moment, it's not easy to make a living. And Ren Xiong only have one requirement for that, which is to pay good attention for learning how to make a great masterpiece. So for the painting about Ren Xiong, when he paints, usually the Chinese will use the calligraphy style, which much more focus on the strokes and lines, and also the style of Ren Xiong. For Ren Xiong's style, it's a very general style for the Chinese painting industry, with more focus about the linear size, about thick and thin of the strokes. More than that, after Ren Xiong lecturing all his knowledge to Ren Bulian, the time has already passed to another dynasty, which has also brings Ren Bulian to Shanghai. Oh, sorry, it's not to be Shanghai, but Taiping Army, following the Taiping Army to the Shanghai. Later on, we all know that Nanjing has been occupied. Ren Bulian have to escape to his home place to find his teacher, and has been introduced to the others for selling books and masterpieces, which you all can see the books on my hand. This is the painting contribute during the Middle Age of Ren Bulian. The special point on this special point about this painting actually is about the drawing style, which Ren Bulian is using grinding style. Nothing regardless of the linear style about the line size of thick and thin we have mentioned before. So this is actually a very famous and special one. Due to the time issue, let me just move on to another painter. Ephraim should have heard that Xu Beixiong, which is actually 10 years younger than Ren Bunian. For Ren Bunian, he is professionals in painting the figures, flowers, and birds. But for Xu Beixiong, just because he has been studying abroad in France, that's why he has learned all the professions from Fremont on France, which is a very famous one, which focuses on the French realism style. What do you mean of realism? It's very simple, just 100% accurate with the reality. For a common one, when appreciating the painting, whether it is accurate to the reality, especially for the one who has been the reference being painted on the paper, is really important for the realism style. Usually when people said, it looks real, it looks similar, that means it is quite accurate to the things in the reality. But for what Xu mentioned, looks real or similar actually is just between the reality and abstract. And that's actually nothing special. When one is looking for a painting, actually it's meaningless for them to spend $100 million to buy a masterpiece. They would more prefer to spend $1,000 to buy a painting, just was comment as accurate with the reality. So let's come back to this paint. You can see that there's holes inside, which in terms of Chinese painting is more common as the literate paint, but more close to the realism style in the Western concepts. You can see that it has showed the traditional Chinese painting style, but the written style here is more close to the Western style. So what does it mean and what kind of message of this masterpiece is showing to us? And for this, we have to talk about the history. It is the time when Xu Beihong back to China in 1892, when Cai Yuanpei invited him to Beijing. During a time when Cai Yuanpei, being the president of the university, just because of making a very materialistic. Because at that time, in the Chinese culture, usually the master may have matches between them by comparing the accuracy of their paint compared with the reality. Just because of that time is after the 5/4 movements. At that time, there is another painter called Wu Jindin has been challenging the painting of Xu. At that moment, people are using a very special approach to paint the landscape, mountain and river, which is similar to using an axe. After when Xu Beixiong go to Nanjing, he usually suffers in a disaster life just because of the general situation at that period. Until the time, during the time when Xu Beihong, being a teacher, he has drawn a very famous painter one, which has been shown on the screen. And has been shown to everyone. The painter has made many noises everywhere it goes. Later on, when Xu Beixiong go back to the original places, by promoting this masterpiece, he has come to the original places and successfully to be the president, to be the art school. And at that period of time, the Republic of China has been established. When Xu Beixiong has brought the realistic style to China, circling back to the 60 years of China history, Xu Beixiong's style has been influenced the practice of the art industry in China. It's not purely about realistic, but it has included some of the abstract style inside, which at that period of time, which is not allowed by the government. Okay, let's come to the next one. This painter actually has significant influence in the Chinese art industry. And this paint masterpiece I was borrowed by the Hong Kong Art Museum. This painter has been learning painting of Chinese and also the Western style. He is gifted in the art perspective and also being a president in the university in China. Later on, he have shared all the experience and thought to his students. And all his knowledge actually is learned from Qi Baishi and also Huang Pinxiong. And the third one is Lin Fengnian, as all you may know. He actually had been to Hong Kong. For Li Keran actually do have many students in China. And here we comes to Zhang Din. He is the president of Hong Kong Industrial Arts College, who focus on realism and abstract styles. You could see the color are very sharp in his masterpiece, which is quite different from the traditional Chinese one. Actually, he's pretty successful and even contribute in photography, drama, and more focus on industrial arts. He did contribute a lot on the art in Hong Kong, which is about China Revolution. And here we comes to these two masterpieces, which is contribute from Chen Shifa and Huangzhou. Usually, you can see that the strokes and line in the painting of Chen Shifa is more close to the traditional styles. He first learned drawings from the perspective of comic strips, which is actually non-dynamic styles. But for Huangzhou, you can see the differences, which the stroke and also the line is more short and more dynamic. Actually, for Wang Zhou, he used to have the last name as Liang. Of course, for both of them are very famous one, and that makes their masterpiece be very expensive. For the development of the new China, Guangzhou actually has been raised by the education of the nation. Here we come to Zhou Sicong, who is a very famous, smart, and Chinese painter. For her, she has been affected by her master Ye Qianhe and Li Keran. For Li Keran, when he's painting the portrait, usually shows the style of a very lively images. And later on, it comes to the Middle Age. She has learned the style of Li Keran, like the paint on the right side, which usually the figures stay close to one of the paper side, reflecting the experience of the painter about her experience on Japanese occupation, the internal war in China, and the new China establishment. When she get old, she said, "There is nothing much for me to worry about in my whole life. I entered to the famous arts college, and all my friends loved me. But I am confused with the questions. Why there are many wars in the world? That's why I drew this monk facing specifically on one side of the paper, having a metaphor that doing reflection in front of a wall, and shows a very stressful feeling to the one who is appreciating the artwork. That's why I do recommend a masterpiece to everyone." And now let us come to another aspect about flower and birds. There are many painters contribute their effort on these aspects. And one of them, called Wu Changshi, when Ren entered Shanghai, he had the chance to know about Wu Changshi. Wu Changshi is professional in making sketch stamp, but for Ren Benian is famous for traditional painting. If comparing the sketch stamps and Chinese calligraphy, Wu Changshi always comes to the first one. Wu Changshi is much younger than Ren Benian. One day, he is asking Ren Benian to be his master. Rembrandt just asked him to show some of his talent. After that, Rembrandt just said, "It's fine. You don't even need any mentors. Just to be yourself. You don't even need to learn anything about drawing flower and birds. Just by using the calligraphy style, you can even create a great masterpiece." After Rembrandt just showing him a little of the technique, 吴昌硕 has already improved a lot on his talent. And at the same time, there is another traditional painter called Qi Baishi, who is as famous as Wu Changshuo. For Qi Baishi, usually for his paint, you can see that flowers in the paper having dimensional movement, or maybe it's just my own thought, but you could see that his drawing actually is very dynamic. Not only the flowers, but also you can see the grasses around, and the ladybird on it has also showed an important place. These kinds of painting only been shown in the early age of Qi Baishi. Usually when it comes to his elderly age, it rarely happens on his painting. And later on, it comes to Yu Fei'an, who helps Qi Baishi to focus on drawing flowers. But what makes it special actually is the parallelism in the technique. This masterpiece is about the plum blossom. And the color inside is very sharp, which I thought the impression is quite strong, but still it is a bit different from the one painted by Qi Baishi. Okay, let's come to Tang Yun and Zhang Daiqian. They are actually competitors. Of course, there is not any significant challenge between them, but during that period of time, just because people would more appreciate on the other painters like Wang Fei, and they do have the same proficiencies on painting stone. That's why they always compare together by others. But for Tang Yun, he has significant influence power in the Qing dynasty. And this is my very first piece of collection. When the first time when I heard that there is an exhibition organized by Shanghai, and I was invited by my friend to the exhibition. At that time, and also the time I know, and the first time I learned that China actually has been fashioned by the Westerns. And that requires the Chinese great-grandmaster over their professions and service to organize this expedition for making the foreign exchange for China. But for me, actually, I do have no idea about that at that time, just because the name of Tong Yun contains Yun, which is the same as my father. And that is the first point that attracts me. Later on, I know that this masterpiece actually do have a message inside, which is showing the serendipity between the East and West. And that has encouraged me to write a book about Chinese painting. But there is nothing can explain that. This is my first time when I have met this paint in the exhibition. Let's come to talk about the last part, landscape, which is the mountain and river. Hong Kong, China used to focus on the traditional strokes and the calligraphy style. But later on, after the style of France, Renaissance, or Monet have been spread in, the style of the Chinese painting has been changed. And for Huang Binhong, usually focused on theoretical drawings. The reason why his drawing is very famous nowadays is actually because he has been teaching everyone how to paint traditional Chinese landscape painting. Anyone knows how to draw landscape painting? I do really hope that we could remember the 10 skills. For the stroke painting, it do offer 5 styles. One is the plain drawing, and the other is the graffiti painting style, which emphasize the skills and also the thoughts. The other thing is about the technique of using ink. Of course, we do need to ensure the quality of the ink, but when using the ink style, they are talking about a technique entitled as 泼墨佛, which requires painters to draw layers by layers with ink. Of course, for Zhang Daqian, it's not about the 泼墨佛 link technique, but for Tang Yuan, it actually is. Another ink technique is 胶墨, which is emphasized about the link index of the texture. Later on, when the time entered the period of New China, the painter has developed an other link technique. Of course, for Huang Pinghong, it just simply mentioned the key points of using ink, but I do really hope that any friend of you, if you know about the message of the link technique, could share the understanding with me. Just because of his theory, his status and position in the art industry has been the top one, even entered the central government. At that period of time, Xu Beihong has significant influence power and emphasized that traditional Chinese painters should focus on realism. But for Huang Pinghong, he has been stand strict and stick close to his plan that the national painting could not be dropped. And at that time, our new China President Mao has been going to greet with Wang Pinghong and mentioned that the national painting could stay forever, and opened another art college for doing research on Chinese painting. And they do have promote the painting with Chinese style. My first plan is to introduce this painting by Lin Fengmin with Empress style together with Xu Beixiong, but just because there is a difference on their time period, that's why I leave it till now. For Lin Fengmin, his painting is different from Xu Beixiong, and when the time he go back to Hangzhou, he has established an art college in Hangzhou. When Lin Fengmin be the president of the art college in Hangzhou, he stopped promoting oil painting, but focused on the painting with Western style instead. Lin Fengmin developed the school of Western painting and left the Chinese painting to the other, emphasizing that there is no point for us to combine both West and its style, for both of them do have their own special characters. And basically, they are on the same stage. But unfortunately, Lin Fengmin fails to promote his painting in China as what he expects, and later on, he come to Hong Kong. And one day, my friend invites me to his place for appreciating his work. Actually, the place is not open for public, or say invited by a friend only. And at that time, my neighborhood is a Shanghainese who loves Chinese painting as well, like me. He said, one of my friends knows there is painting from Lin Fengmin. Are you interested? And I just nodded. Then we go together. When I arrived at the place, there are actually so many masterpieces for me to take a look. But none of them is my cup of tea, or just because of my short sight at that period. I don't even know Lin Fengmin is super famous. When I almost give up and want to leave, my friend just stopped me and said, why don't we just spend a little on helping Lin Fengmin? And saying that Lin Fengmin sell his painting for earning a living. After that, when my friend knows me, there is nothing I'm interested. He brought me to another place, which is different from the one shown to me before. And those nude painting is focused on landscape more. You can see that on the left-hand side, the style is more close to the Chinese style, a little bit different from the Western one. And I said, hey, actually, this is a Chinese painting. As long as you're invited by my friend, just pick one or two that you are interested. And I will show you the one, even though the painting is not for sale. Then I randomly picked this one, but be rejected. The first thing come to my mind, of course, is disappointment. And he's the one not fulfilling his promise. But later on, when the president of the Hong Kong Art Museum, who has been retired, when he visited to my home place and know that I do have an interest in collecting traditional Chinese painting, he asked me to give up the painting and do let them have the right to own it. Of course, I did reject them and said there is pretty much more other pieces that you could have. Why you showing this? And the president said, actually, there's pretty advantages for you to give us this masterpiece, as it can be shown and be famous in the museum. And the president also promised me that the paint will keep on be showing in the museum after the museum is established, which made me feel proud on this by his invite. That's why I did get off my favorite and give it to the art museum. These two masterpieces do come from Zhang Daqian and Tang Yun. The reason why I do showing these two masterpieces is because of they both focused on stone drawing. But by comparing them, you could see that the style on Tang Yun, the technique, is very obvious. It's different from Zhang Daqian. I do really love Tang Yun, and he actually is my second favorite painter. He is super professional on drawing stone. Okay, let's come to the other one. Professor just asked me, do I have any own drawings to show? I don't think I do have any, but for this paint by Fu Baoshi, it is drawn during the time when he is in Nanjing. Actually, Fu Baoshi is really gifted and has talent on painting. At the same time, he do really love his student and not mind to showing all his students about his work. Let me show you all what is the technique of Fu Baoshi is using. You can see that there are so many dots on his paint. And he is using the technique of Fu Pi Xun. And for this part, actually you can see there are so many dots that are not gathered together and spread out. Of course, this is not told by others, it is observed by me. That's why I do really want to share. And here I have a story to share. The time is when I'm studying in the program of architecture, around year 2 to 3. When I submit my work to Professor Gregory, he requires all the students to do a research, asking his student to randomly pick a place for the research. And I choose Pengzhou with my teammates, where is a very small island in Hong Kong. But there is nothing we can do if we just stay in Pengzhou for around 2 weeks only. That's why we bought a map about Pengzhou and we reached out to Pengzhou. When we arrived and entered the city, we do spot different places of Pengzhou. Like there is a church, there is another store, and do all recorded all the significant places in Pengzhou with special characters. So after 1 to 2 weeks, when we need to submit our research, I draw this paint, which is shown on the PowerPoint. And this is the very first and also the last piece, the only one piece that I draw. My friends do have many relationships with other great masters in Chinese painting, and he taught me how to paint, what kind of equipment I should have. Later on, I draw this masterpiece, and this is how my work come. Going back to the masterpiece of Fu Baoshi, the technique of Sanfengxun is very special. No matter what kinds of painting you are drawing, the only one requirement is that the masterpiece should be commented as amazing. After 45 years, I suddenly interested in painting great masterpiece of national painting. And then I take reference of so many art books and would like to have the collection of the painting by Fu Baoshi. But it's quite difficult for me to own one, not because of the price expensive. It's quite difficult for one to have a real work. What I can do is wait. Later on, a chance comes to me, and I do really appreciate. That's why I joined the join the Cautions workshop, because the venue is in Beijing and I do online cautions. Occasionally, I reached to Pingzhou again with my friends. Suddenly, someone called me. With no coming numbers, but I was told that the message is from the Cautions workshops. I was super shocked, and also I was super shocked, and my friends as well. And they do encourage me to buy the masterpiece, but the price is super expensive. I do have several concerns. Some of them are from my wife, but after several consideration, I do decide that I would like to have one collection of this great master. And later on, this is another pieces that I collected after the Cautions workshops, which the person in charge sent it to me by post. And after that, I try to copy the technique of the masterpiece and create my own one. Later on, when I thought I have learned all the technique, I feel so pleased and proud by my ability, and that I entitled the pieces as 野人献卜, with showing the message that every one of us should appreciate the warmth from the sunshine. And let's come to the other two. These two masterpieces actually are the one I bought during my travel in China during 1993. Which actually is pretty expensive. The first one I met is the time when I traveled in a temple in China. I don't have any plans for buying one, but for no reason that when the first time I saw this paint, at the very first glimpse, it seems that the figures inside is moving and it is very dynamic, like the character is dancing itself inside. Let me tell you how much is the piece. It's only 270. At that period of time, it's around 3,000 something. If exchanging to Hong Kong unit. Since I do earn money in Hong Kong, it's okay for me to buy one masterpiece in China. At that time, when I first met this masterpiece, I do really love it. Later on, together with Zhu Jianlun, I put this as one of my collection, of course, and do contribute to the Art of Museum for exhibition. And for Wu Guanzong, it's not much to say, but for his theory, which is I do not agree. And it is about the form of beauty. He once said, there is nothing could be shown by just paint and ink. What does it mean? For zero meaningless. But for me, actually it's just pure just a piece of landscape painting. Maybe what I said may offend plenty of you, because I know that Wu Guanzong has many friends in Hong Kong. But for me, until now, Wu Guanzhong's masterpiece just a landscape painting, and this is different from what he mentioned for the form of beauty. Okay, let's come to the part of appreciation and collection. In my perspective, you could separate them into two, and both of them are on the same stage. Both of them are important. For appreciation, it's still really rarely for you to have chance to take a look on the real piece. One of the approaches to visit the museum, and it's a great chance for you to appreciate the real piece. We as a human should not only focus on our physical needs, but also we do need mental needs. Like some of us may play mahjong or having drinks sometimes. And like the time when people love to have opium in the past. When talking about appreciation, it is not really corresponding to collection. Appreciation doesn't mean that you have to pick any masterpiece to be one of your collection. Of course, you could have a chance to like donating your work to the museum and let the others to make the appreciation. And this is what I want to focus today. First of all, it's about the Yu Fei'an, Feng Zikai, Zhang Din, Han Tinxiu, Wu Yefo, Wu Hufan. Let's take this famous painter as an example. For the first one, Yu Fei'an, actually he is like copying the style of Song Feizhong. And you can see that it is focused on realism. It is painted by reason. There is a category for the butterfly. It does come for reasons. There is specific techniques inside. And you can see there is a Kasi style and imitating Song Huizong calligraphy. This technique is pretty complicated, and you can see that the little butterfly on it is what Qi Baishi always looking for, and sometimes should be shown on his masterpiece. Of course, for Qi Baishi and Yu Fei'an, they are both good friends, like teachers and like friends. Sometimes when Qi Baishi draw many of the masterpieces, and Yu Fei'an will collect all his pieces and doing the post-painting on it. They have no discussion every time, but Qi offered comprehensive freedom to Yu Fei'an for his creativity, and later on, they have been cooperating for a long time. Of course, I don't have any further comments about the real and fake, the reality of the painting. And there is no track for us to find the truth. Here we comes to another paint by Feng Zikai. He once be appointed as the president of the Buddhist College in China. In Feng Zikai's time, China is emphasizing and encouraging people to work hard for their life. You could see that in his paint. It is talking about a message with simple line that saved the life at that period of time. And here we comes to Zhang Ding. The masterpiece is more focused on semi-abstract, comics, and morals. The left one is being shown in Hong Kong Mirror exhibition and very valuable because it has peacefully experienced the time of Chinese Revolution. For me, when I buy a masterpiece of work, the size of how big or small, new or good, is not a consideration for me, just good or bad. And for the painting of Pantian Shou, there is nothing about whether there is a little butterfly on that. But for me, I do really appreciate the painting style, the stroke, and also the calligraphy style on it. And for the second one, for Xu Beixiong, I have no approach to buy any of his old paint, but I do really appreciate some of his masterpieces that about horse and stones, but most of his pieces being sold on the general workshop is the fake one. And I used to fall into a trap. In the early stage of Xu Beixiong, his technique of drawing bamboo is very strong, and obviously he's super talented. For Xu Beixiong, he is gifted by this talent and always be compared by Ren Bodian. Even Xu himself may mention that he is the reincarnation of Ren Bodian. Of course, there is no reference for us to track is real or not, but we do agree that he is a great talent. Okay, for this is a masterpiece from HUI CHEUK. It's rarely for us to heard about this name in Hong Kong. For who nowadays is going to be famous in Hong Kong, but unfortunately, he has already passed away, but his work in the action workshops is pretty popular. Thanks for one of my friends, Raymond Cheung. I met him in the action workshops. Actually, we discuss painting. No matter for how the size will be, the new or old, or just or bad, when one appreciates the masterpiece, it only focused on the popularity. During the time, and that is a hard time, when the Japanese soldiers occupying Hong Kong. We therefore focus all his time on his painting. Later on, he joined one publisher and established an art workshop for him to sell his masterpiece. And here we come to Wu Fan. He is very famous for drawing the landscape painting. And he was born in a pretty rich family. I do love his painting, like the one to be shown in the deck. And here we come to another two to talk about how to differentiate the painting between real and fake. Of course, the technique inside is super difficult when you don't even have an experience to have a chance to take a look on the real one. The left one is drawn by Wu, while the other one actually is just one product being sold on the action workshops. You can see that there are minimal difference between them, which the one being sold in the action workshop is being a little bit slightly. Of course, I did buy the left one 20 to 30 years before the left one. So I pretty believe that I do buy the real one. Here we come to the last two examples. By comparing them, you don't even have a chance to say there is differences between them if you just ignoring the one on the left. It is pretty easy to take reference by his work, and obviously the left one is fake. Of course, for one to copying the masterpieces, it does make sense to have the same style, but the technique inside, you could see the differences. By comparing these two, the left one actually is more elegant, and the right one seems a little bit weird. That's why it is important for you to comparing two for real and fake. And here we almost come to the end for my sharing in this seminar. Lastly, I want to mention about the two famous ancient painter, which is my favorite. One is Shifu, emphasizing his work is focusing on the new innovation, but in my perspective, it is actually more focused on abstract style. And you could see that his paint is more focused on human and donkey. Maybe it's about my quality of photo taking, but for the real work, the feeling of the paint is super strong. For me, as one who study architecture, I do really have this great feeling when I take a look on this paint. Shifu first joined the Beijing Art College and later on graduated from the Zhejiang Academy of Fine Arts. Just because abstract drawing is not popular in China, that's why, in terms of philosophy, Shifu always considered a lot, and that has really affected his life. Around the time 1983, Hong Kong do foreign exchange by selling art paints through the stroke painting clubs. Or by 杂古斋. Of course, nowadays, the Zhaguzhai is different from what it used to be. Later on, Shifu artworks have been sold by the price of 8 millions. That's why we all said there is a price for every artwork, but I do have no comments on how high is the value. Of course, for us as a general public, it's quite difficult for us to buy the real one. For Shifu, actually, that's why for Shifu, he did have a hard life. And now we come to the last one, Xu Bing. We can take a look of this masterpiece, which is produced by him in the very early time when he focused on engraving painting. When the first time I met him, I have no idea about this person. And I bought this masterpiece in 1980. He is selling engraving painting, which is not famous, and I'm not even a big fan of it. But since the period of time is in the new era of China, painting such kind of artwork could be a point to promoting China, and it poses a very significant and important position in the history. I do appreciate of this guy because he sells his artwork at the same price with other masterpieces. The difference is only the high price for other masterpieces for one, while the same price for a bunch of products. His work at that time is posted on the exhibition wall, which only costs a very low selling price. And I, with my friends, has bought several of it. Later on, when after I bought the price, I just left them aside until the time the Chamber of the Commerce is going to do maintenance repairing. Later on, the representative from the Chamber of Commerce asked me to help resolve the masterpiece. I want to give a helping hand, but it's quite difficult for me to have so many art of pieces at one time. That's why I give it to my friend, and this is the remaining one on my hand. But surprisingly, this painter has become famous nowadays. And the original price of the artwork is no longer anymore the old one. I do really appreciate this painter who is very humble for his work, and later on, he becomes the president of the Beijing Art College. In traditional wise, this engraving painting do really offers a good examples. We always said there is Book from Paradise, which actually is combined the text and divine arts. And Xu Bin has been one of the one that I really appreciate. Thank you everyone for attending to my seminar. And this is the end of my sharing at all. Thank you. So in this seminar, we did talk about Mr. Hui's thought sharing and experience in contemporary Chinese painting. If you guys want to know more about his proficiencies, please read his 2 books, and that will be collected by our library. So last but not least, we would like to take this chance to offer our appreciation to Mr. Hui and offer the certificate to him. We do want to leave you guys a chance to ask questions, but due to the time limitation, so just see if you guys have any questions. Or anyone online would like to take a chance to ask any questions you would like to know. Anyone, please don't hesitate to ask. Oh, one more thing I would like to say. About the thing that Xu Xiong was being fired by the art college is because he is trying to promote the style how to draw Western paints, which is not allowed at that time. And promoting the message of drawing body sculpture, which is not fits the moral practice in traditional Chinese culture. But in learning the Western paint, this is a very important milestone for everyone to learn. As what I just mentioned, when you talk about the painting of Rembrandt, I want to ask, generally, the painting rarely shows the direction of sliding down, and the stroke obviously could have a strong feeling. What do you think? Actually, I do think that maybe it is affected by the theory of Tang Dynasty, or maybe affected by Su Dongbo, the experience of Su Dongbo. But I think it's more about the reason he came to Lingnan for having the fruit, 荔枝, but for him, just because maybe his experience is very harsh and not being appreciated or have no way to show his talent. That's why the direction of the painting, you could see it is pointing to the downside, which representing his life and his experience. Just because Su Dongbo always have a Buddhist philosophy and always remind people to focus on their path. That's why to fit this style, he draws the painting, the direction always dropping down. Okay, so due to the time limitation, we do appreciate the sharing by Mr. Hui. Thanks for sharing all your collection and your experience on making your collection. For us, we rarely have a chance to appreciate these kind of valuable collections. We hope that later on, we could have a chance to see your another collection. Hope next time we could invite you again for this sharing. Sure, thank you. Let's take a picture now.